Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our introduction or our class today on identity fraud. It is going to be taught by Micah, Nancy, a few more, right? It seems like maybe there's more people that have showed up to teach it.
Yes, we have a wide array of guest speakers today and experts to aid us in teaching you guys how to protect yourself against identity theft today. Yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming. We really appreciate it. This is something that's extremely important for our clientele. A lot of us have actually experienced identity fraud. Maybe our wallet gets lost or it gets stolen while we're outside on the streets. And so it's something that we're extremely vulnerable here to. So we really appreciate you coming to teach this. We hope everyone can kind of take something away from it. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the great intro, Jasmine. And again, my name is Micah McCartney. I am with Key Bank. And today we're just so excited to present to all the Bayaud employees. This is going to be, I think, really insightful for a lot of you. A lot of things you maybe don't know, how to protect yourself, tips and tricks, but also understanding what you can be at risk at and what is truly identity theft and what we can do to truly protect ourselves. So I think there's a lot of great content in this presentation. Also, I through the financial wellness program of Key at Work, it kind of takes a village, as my counterpart Nisha would say, to run the financial wellness village that we do here at Key Bank. And we lean on each other to get experts on calls that maybe we don't have the insight or knowledge that some other partners might have. So that's why I'm so excited to have a bunch of guests, and we're going to do an intro to get to know everybody on the call, and then we'll jump right into the content. But again, feel free to take a picture of this screen if you'd like. This has my work email address and my phone. A lot of people like to snap pictures just to have the contact info if you guys want that. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, my name is Micah McCartney. I have been in retail banking for over 12 years, been in the financial wellness space a long time, and been helping people out with, budgeting, financial advisor advice. I've been a branch manager, you name it. I've been in the retail world for banking. So absolutely, I'm living my dream job here at Key Bank, being able to teach people financial wellness, budgeting, how to improve their credit score, and then this presentation as well, protecting yourself from identity theft. We have a wide array of presentations we do for the Key at Work program. So my job is to link up with the businesses and present, educate, tell people how we can help them at Key Bank, or if the solution isn't here at Key, to point them in another direction. So another counterpart, Nisha, is not on the call, but she is she's my work wife. I love Nisha to death. She is a Key at Work AM. She's just a fantastic person. Has taught me a lot. For me coming to Key Bank, I've been here for 2 years. She's been at Key Bank for 10 years. So she's just fantastic. Her role is changing a little bit in the coming months here at Key Bank to be more of a facilitator of appointments and account manager for the whole state of Colorado. And I'm just so glad to be able to partner with her. But to get to some of the guests of who we have today, I'm really excited. And all the guests, if you guys want to go in order from top to bottom, we'll start off with Wendy. But just introduce yourself, talk a little bit about maybe a fun little fact about yourself and what you guys do. So we'll go ahead and start off with Wendy. Wendy, if you want to take yourself off mute and kick us off.
Sure. My name is Wendy Hannafy. I'm the owner of Space to Be Me. I'm a residential and life transitions organizer. So I'm one of those people who either comes in and makes your house look super pretty and gets rid of all the extraneous junk, but I also help people organize around their finances and documents, which is what I'll be talking about today. Weird fact is I started my long life career in black bear and grizzly bear research. So I've gone from trapping grizzly bears for a living to helping people kind of maximize the comfort of their lives. That's it for me.
quite a transition, I will say. From that's an awesome fact. Thank you so much for sharing, Wendy. And Sarah, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do at the retail level?
Sure. So I'm Sarah Rao. I was on the call with you all last month when we had one with Nisha. I'm a financial wellness consultant slash personal banker. So we do the personal account. We help walk you through what might be the best option. We just talk about budgets, things like that, just to try to help get your finances in order. Not a very fun fact, but I am going to have my last day with Key tomorrow, so I can be a stay-at-home mom. But I do have my coworker, Stephanie Archer, on this call. So if you need any accounts or somebody to talk to on the banker side, she'll be your contact, and I'll make sure that she gets her information put in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. And Nancy, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do.
Well, I'll give you my fun fact first, and that is I'm a recovering high school teacher. So I have been in the classroom for quite a while, education, and then I moved back to Colorado and came across this program called Legal Shield and ID Shield. And what I have really enjoyed doing, I'm a field trainer now for the state of Colorado, and I'm still educating, just in a different way. And it's truly an honor to be here to support you all today, because here's what I can tell you for sure is that the identity thieves are not the ones getting COVID, because identity theft is alive and well. So I commend you all for showing up today and ready to rock and roll. So Nancy Blackwell here to help serve and protect you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nancy. And Alicia.
I guess I'll also start off with a fun fact, because it's all kind of what led me to what I'm doing now. But for 5 years, I used to settle pre-litigation claims for people who wrecked rental cars. So I've across the country. So I've literally seen the strangest, and not just wrecked, but just damaged, I should say, rental cars. I have seen the things people do to rental cars. It is incredibly insane. One of those being, I had a guy cover an entire truck one time in Hello Kitty stickers, just all the way around. Anyway, and it varies from there, but I am Alicia Miller, owner, founder of Alicia Squared LLC, and my business is to help other businesses, small businesses, solopreneurs to small teams. Just here to help organize them, protect them so that they can grow. And so that also supports my role as senior director for Legal Shield. Obviously, my background in pre-litigation, I've seen when people aren't prepared for the unexpected. So just out here on my mission to educate people about their rights, because as my partner Nancy would say, you don't have any rights if you don't know what they are. So anyway, just really thankful and grateful to be here today to educate others on how they can protect themselves and their families.
Love it. I love it. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And again, just guest speakers, like I said, it takes a village, and it's important to have experts that are just in this field where they breathe it every single day, and get their perspective and get some knowledge from them. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So financial wellness, we've been tossing that word around a lot. Before we jump in, we want to talk about the Key at Work program and other things that we teach through the financial wellness program at Key at Work. We have presentations on saving and spending, saving and investing, understanding your credit score, home ownership. If you're looking to buy a home in the near future, have a plan. We can definitely help you with that. Managing debt. The average American has $10,000 in credit card debt. It's a big problem that people struggle with. So we have a great presentation on that. We talk about HSAs and healthcare costs. And then ultimately, protecting your identity is very important and something that a lot of people don't have knowledge about or know their rights about. So we're really happy to be in the financial wellness space. And all this is really encompassing what we call financial wellness. You know, we want you to have financial freedom and have a plan. So let's go ahead and just jump to the agenda for today. We're going to talk about what identity theft is, the importance of protecting your identity, signs of identity theft, and what you can do to prevent identity theft. And if it does happen to you, how to deal with it. Like I said, I've been in retail banking for 12 years, worked at Bank of the West, worked at BBVA, I've worked at a lot of bigger retailers, some of the biggest banks in the nation. And I can give you an idea of procedure of what it normally looks like if you have identity theft, how to deal with that. Some good signs for a bank to know if you're at a good bank, and some bad signs to tell if you're at a bank, how to deal with that. So just jumping right in here, what is identity theft? The definition really is truly, it's a federal crime that occurs when an individual or group steals private data. Most of the time it's a social security number, a credit card, an account number to commit fraud for financial gain. Thieves try to access this information in a lot of different ways. There's what I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, phishing scams for emails, where they try to get you to click on a link to put your own information like your social security number or something in there that's fraudulent and fake, so they can obtain information. That's called phishing email scams. Over the phone, we're all aware of over the phone. My phone, I get probably 4 or 5 calls a day from fraud or scams, people trying to say that they're the IRS and I'm going to jail. Because I didn't pay my taxes, crazy stuff like that. We all have heard those. We've all had those phone calls over the phone, and obviously there's a lot of things online we need to be careful. But identity theft is out there. A lot of people are victims of it, and it is very important to arm yourself with knowledge on how to protect yourself with it. So now we've established what identity theft is. In the chat, before we get to this slide, in the chat, I had put a link in the chat. And I don't know if you guys, maybe Nancy, you guys can let me know if that link is working for you guys, if it takes you to a page to show you. I put kind of a survey together to where you guys can just kind of what you think the answers are. It's like 4 or 5 questions in there. And I'm going to try to go to that page right now to go and show you the questions. Can you guys still see my screen? Yeah, you guys can see the questions?
No.
Oh, you can't? Okay. Give me 1 second here. How about now? Can you see the identity theft survey questions? Perfect. Was the link able to work for everybody? Wonderful. I'll give you guys like 15, 20 seconds to just click on what answers you think is correct. This is just a fun way to kind of get everybody involved. In a digital world, when we're doing presentations, we want engagement, because the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. So we're going to go through some of these questions, and some of them you might find you might find a little alarming to what the answers are. But for the first question here, let me go ahead and see how many cases of identity theft were there in 2019. So right here you can see we have an ABCD question here. So what would you guys think that the answer is to that? Anybody want to shout out or type in the chat what they think? Perfect.
B.
B?
Yeah.
You got it right on the nose. B is absolutely correct. In 2019, there were 572,000 identity theft claims in 2019. Quite staggering to think about that. Going to the next question. What age reported the most cases of identity theft last year in 2020? What would you guys say the answer to that is?
We said 50 to 59.
I think 30 to 39.
Or 30 to 39.
Okay. The
20 to
answer,
29.
I'll wait for some people to get some more answers going, but the correct answer is actually 30 to 39. All of these questions were from Motley Fool. It's a brokerage, and they had some intense reporting that they had done in partner with other companies like JB and why can't I think of their name? GD Power and Associates and other people to do this research for these questions. So these are pretty accurate for what was last year, and pretty staggering that 30 to 39 was actually the answer there. So young people are very much still at risk for identity theft. At the end of July, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, had fielded almost blank COVID-19 and stimulus-related fraud reports in 2020. So by the end of July of 2020, how many cases of stimulus fraud do you think they had?
67.
67,000? Wendy put 150,000. And Wendy, you are correct. By the end of July, over 150,000 people were at fraud, were committed fraud on them for their stimulus refund in 2020. And Nancy's going to get to that. That's kind of a precursor for Nancy, because as she said, the criminals are not getting COVID. So it's a precursor to that. And then just finally, just for fun, to get your brain going, what state had the most identity theft reports in 2019? What would you guys guess for that?
D.
B?
Cali.
California.
Oh, California. Okay. Yeah, we're getting a lot of California's. Wendy's, Dave. Margaret said Colorado. It actually, you're correct. D, California is what had the most identity theft reports in 2019. So let me go ahead and share my screen back to our presentation here. Am I back to the presentation? Thumbs up. Good. Awesome. That's just kind of fun, just to kind of brain teaser to get your brain going about just some things for identity theft that are interesting. Something that you probably all found as shocking as I did. With COVID-19, fraud has become even more rampant, especially with tax fraud and people trying to get your benefits, which is really sad. That people are struggling right now, and they're getting taken advantage of by people that it's just that are already struggling. But there's really an important part that we want to talk about of protecting your identity. Anyone can be a target of identity theft. You can put your financial accounts, your credit rating, a lot of things at risk for your financial well-being. Credit card fraud was the most common form of identity theft in 2017, but there's definitely a cost to that. A lot of people that are victims of identity theft don't really have a plan B. If your liquidity, if you're at risk, what are you going to do? And the cost of identity theft, look at these staggering statistics that will really break your heart. 26% of victims had to borrow money from their family or friends that were victim of identity theft. 22% had to take time off of work. And then 15.3% of victims sold possessions to pay for expenses for their identity theft. They didn't even commit this crime, and they were selling their possessions to just deal with it. And then 6.7%, which is the status obtained a payday loan, which is very high interest. If you don't know what a payday loan is, it's very, very, there's been documentaries on Netflix and other streaming services about payday loans, and how their CEO, they had to re-regulate how they were doing loans and how they were presenting to customers, because they were predatory lending. Payday loans are extremely high loans for small amounts of money. So it's sad that almost 7% of people went to go do that. 22 to 30% for a $500 loan is an example of a payday loan. So people were so hard out for cash and money that they had to go do that. So this kind of tells you why you should care about protecting yourself from identity theft, because it can happen to you. And what are you going to do when that happens? What team do you have around you to help you if you're a victim of that? And Nancy, if there's anything that you wanted to chime in here, I know that your slide's next, but it's just really sad. I know you've seen a lot of people affected and the cost of identity theft.
Well, one of the things I was going to say too, that unfortunately, and it's even more so unfortunate with COVID, because obviously that is a medical issue. And one of the things we do not hear about across the country, even before COVID became this huge issue that it has become, is that the number one type of identity theft across the United States has been medical identity theft. And most people are not even aware of that. It's like, what? How could that be? You know, how do they do that? Well, as your definition said to identity theft, and the definition of that is that they want your personal information. So unfortunately, the thieves have many avenues, thank you, social media, to get our information offline. And then sadly enough, some of them even go out and create someone. And that's the sad news there. So let's say, for example, I have a medical issue that, you know, we all know the prices of healthcare costs. It's just outrageous. So I can't pay for that. But if I create or steal somebody else's information, I'll go in for the procedure and let them get the bill. So when, you know, Micah's definition of personal information, as far as being a definition of identity theft, that's what the thieves want, is your personal information to be able to get access to whatever your accounts are. And I mentioned social media, and there is a whole nother identity theft issue with social media, passwords to getting into 401 account. I mean, it's just pretty endless. So, but again, I'm not going to be Debbie Downer. But I mean, just the fact that you guys are on here getting the information. I always used to say to my students in my classroom, awareness leads to choice. And so today it's just an awareness about what is available out there, how you can protect yourself, and realize to not minimize exposure. Oh, that could never happen to me. Well, as we just saw those numbers, there's about 650,000 people who said it would never happen to them. So yeah, it's happening. This slide that you see in front of you right here goes into literally the 6 different types of identity theft. The 6 different types of identity theft. A lot of people will say, I don't need identity theft protection because I don't shop online. I shred everything. I don't use credit cards. Okay, it's not about that. It's really not. So financial, which is, as you see here, number 1, that's usually everybody's huge awareness of identity theft. And interesting enough, financial identity theft is only about 20% of identity theft. The rest of it is in these other 5. Medical. Jasmine, I am so sorry to hear, but it sounded from the little chat I saw that there's a lot of people that are dealing with unemployment fraud in the state of Colorado. That is our number 1 in Colorado right now. You'll see it on the news. I have many group accounts protecting the employees at these accounts, and I've had one a week, if not more, since December 1st saying, hey, we had another member of our employee group that just got breached with unemployment fraud. What do we do? Social Security, as Micah had mentioned, Social Security is huge. Usually before COVID, their favorite times of the year were the holidays, and tax time is their second favorite time of the year for fraud. And if they have your Social Security number, if they have had your unemployment claim in your name, that means somebody out there has your Social Security number. And you definitely want to be careful with that. So the nice thing is, with what Alicia and I do, if there is a breach, when both of these programs are offered as an employee benefit, then the nice thing is you get pre-existing coverage. So that's huge. Criminal identity theft is when someone has your information and they're living the life you and I can only dream of because they've become you. Sometimes they commit crimes in your name. You don't show up for court because you didn't know to show up to court, and plus you didn't do anything wrong. But when that police officer pulls you over for that broken little tail light, and he sees in his little police computer that you didn't show up for court because you had a warrant, oops, now you're going to jail. Now you have an identity theft situation that just went criminal or just went legal. And then DMV, same thing. you know, Michael, at the bottom of that last slide, there was a little question there. It said, and who's been a victim of identity theft? Okay, I'm raising my hand. Thank you, Equifax. And what I did after Equifax is on my monitoring process with ID Shield, I added my driver's license number because that's personal information. And when I set up my account up for it to be activated, to be monitored, I was like, oh, you guys don't want my driving record. Nobody would want my driving record. So I put it on there, but that's not the point. But after Equifax, and I found out and got educated that on that file that they did get of mine, guess what was in it? My driver's license number. And what's connected to my driver's license number? Lots of personal information.
Yeah.
So those are the
that's
6 types. Be careful, beware.
Yeah, and guys, again, I want to encourage you to take a picture of this screen with your phone or write down Nancy's information. It's just an easy way to kind of have that information on the screen. Nancy's just a great resource for you if you wanted to reach out to her. She's just a wealth of knowledge for it, but also knowing your rights, Nancy. Again, I love that you say, if you don't know your rights, you don't have them. That's just such a powerful thing. And talk to us more about knowing what our rights are.
Well, when the interesting piece here, you know, we're talking about the main focus today is identity theft, but here's the interesting piece and the reason why both of these programs are offered together. 70% of identity theft out of any one of those 6 areas that I just went over, 70% of those identity theft issues turn into a legal issue. So again, legal issue, somebody got your healthcare issues. They went in, now you've got a credit issue. They went in under your name. Now you've got a legal issue because now you've got creditors coming after you saying, hey, you had a kidney transplant. Somebody calls you and say, hey, you're down for, you know, over $100,000 for the kidney transplant. You're like, what are you talking about? I have both of my kidneys. But the legal protection is huge. And I'm a military brat by product. And my dad was in the Air Force. And there's one thing I definitely grew up with and is proud to be that there's a lot of people that fought for the rights that we have. And I truly, sincerely hope that people grasp that concept that if we don't know our rights, we don't have any. And what I know about going to college, I wish I would have been aware of Legal Shield back in the day, back in the 1800s when I was in college. That I don't know how many times landlords got away with not giving me back my deposit to the apartment that was cleaner leaving than it was when I moved in, but I didn't know my rights. I didn't have access to a law firm to call. Healthcare issues, financial POA. One of the reasons why I got my plan was because I needed to get a will done. And I'll just kind of list it. A will, a living will, healthcare POA, and a financial POA is huge. And you can get all of that with Legal Shield. Shelter mandates. There's a lot that's going on with COVID right now. There's a lot of child care issues. Domestic violence, unfortunately, is just off the charts. Sad to say with COVID. People's stress levels are just out of control. But again, if you don't know who to turn or how to get out of a situation or know what your legal rights are, unfortunately, a lot of people feel stuck. And if they had access or had a lifeline, they would know that they're not stuck. COVID, like I said in the start today, unfortunately, the people who are not getting sick and becoming a statistic are the identity thieves because it's alive and well. So I think it was Sarah that put in the chat, your bank's never going to call you and ask for your personal information. So guard that. It's really, really important. And for those of us that are older, and I'll just put myself in that category, with that civic sense of responsibility, one of the scams that was done on the phone in the Colorado Springs area not too long ago was calling on the elderly, telling them that they missed their jury duty. And that group in our society have that strong sense of civic duty. And so they were like, oh my gosh, what do I need to do to, get off the bad list? And of course, the identity thief says, well, just give us your name, your birthday, your social security number and we'll just reschedule you. Well, that's like feeding candy to a baby, unfortunately. But those scams are alive and well. I know that Alicia, my partner in protection, not necessarily partner in crime, but partner in protection, has seen quite a bit as well. So Alicia, I'm just going to just touch base. If you've got any little nuggets to add to that as far as offering support to stay aware.
Yeah, I mean, you've covered it quite well, and I kind of alluded, you know, in my prior, I am a recovering corporate employee. Corporate insurance, crazy. Anyway, insurance is confusing for a reason. I speak it fluently. I've dealt with a lot of people who have been victims of identity theft, and there is coverage included in many renters policies, homeowners policies, and so, or you know, they have an offer from another outlet or something like that, which is great. However, something to be aware of is there's lots and lots and lots and lots of exclusions. So if you don't understand what you're actually paying for, it may not actually serve you. So understanding that that Identity Shield is covering all 3 bureaus. It's checking the dark web. It's checking and scanning your social media profiles, things like that that you're not getting from other products. But we also provide you with representation. So I work with clients like, hey, great, we cut off what the identity theft has done now, but my credit's ruined. And how do I restore that? How do I get back that? We give you a private investigator and representation to actually build back your life, to bring you back whole, right? So that's one thing that I've just seen the other side of it. So I just really feel passionate about this product, and it's saved a lot of people, a lot of money, time, hassle, and heartache. So
Love it. Love it. Again, that's why we have these experts on, because it's only going to benefit you guys to get their point of view and what they deal with at ID Shield. So thank you guys again for so much for your knowledge, your input, and just being on and letting us know. But let's jump into signs of identity theft. So catching identity theft early is the best chance you have to limit your losses. I know Nancy would agree with that. When we're reviewing, you know, your bank or your credit card statements, you know, question anything out of the ordinary. If you use your bank app wherever you're currently banking, you know, I recommend looking at that multiple times a day. Being in retail banking as long as I have, it's just real. I mean, I've been a victim of financial fraud from my debit card being skimmed at a gas station. It was actually the day before Christmas Eve. It was I think 2012. That what they did is I scanned my debit card through a skimmer. And I didn't even know it, at a gas station, at a King Soopers gas station. They took that information, went to a King Soopers, ironically, and bought a bunch of Amazon gift cards because they have a $500 limit. So they were buying $500 gift card limits with my information. And I look at my bank account religiously, and I was able to catch it where it was the debit was posted to my account the same day. So they were able to hot card my debit card, and it did allow me at the time to get my money back faster. But that was because I was looking at my phone app for where I was banking multiple times a day to catch that, because it could be something that you look in the morning, everything looks good. You look in the afternoon and you're negative $4,000 in your account, and you're like, whoa, how did this even happen? How's that even possible? So you definitely want to be looking at your bank app wherever you're at, or you know, your bank statements, making sure that not small amounts are coming out. Sometimes they can get in that way too, by testing an account. If they have your information, by getting a $10 debit or a $15 debit, and if it goes unnoticed, they'll do a bigger transaction next time. We've seen that in banking fraud as well. So it's important to just know what's in your account. Use common sense when you're looking at your bank accounts on your phone. Receiving mail or phone calls about your accounts that you did not open should also be, you know, an alert. But again, as Nancy had said, we're not going to call you at the bank and ask you for your social security number. So be aware of things of that nature. Now, if you're getting a call from a bank and they're saying, hey, your account's overdrafted, can you make an appointment so we can talk about this? Or did you open this account? That's different than, hey, what's your social security number? This is blah, blah, blah with Chase Bank. So that could be a red flag for fraud if there's accounts opened in your name that you did not open. Okay, definitely want to keep that in mind. And Nancy, did you want to chime in? Yeah.
I just wanted to throw out there too, as far as awareness, and Micah, I so appreciate your modeling, and I say that, but for most folks, we're not going to be a stickler on watching, because we're going to assume that everybody else plays fair and they're nice, and it's never going to happen to me, is the mantra for so many people. But according to our own FTC, Federal Trade Commission, here's an interesting little nugget, and this is almost scary, that it's on an average of 14 months after the breach has been done that we actually realize we've been breached. 14 months later. Now that might have shortened now over the years, but for the most part in the general public, and the identity thieves are just hoping that people stay uninvolved and stay out of checking their accounts. But 14 months later, and all of a sudden you realize there's been a breach that happened that long ago. I'm lucky if I can remember what I ate for dinner last night, let alone what happened 14 months ago. So being vigilant, when Micah shares that as far as what's the timeline, it is, and it does get daunting to watch all of this. Your utility bills, there's a whole nother story on utility bills, but the point is that's why having a type of service that's going to help you monitor and blow the whistle when something happens to bring it to your attention is muy importante.
Very good. I love it. I love it. Number 3 here, you can see you always want to be checking your credit report. Most credit card companies or banks have an app that you can check your FICO score regularly without it hurting your credit score. You can, request free credit reports through their multiple services online. Everyone's heard of Credit Karma and other things. But yeah, you always want to be monitoring your credit, no matter how you want to do that. You should, at the bare minimum, should be every 6 months. I recommend more than that, but as far as like the bare minimum of what you should be checking your credit score every 6 months. And then closing inactive accounts. This is huge. For the sake of time, because we're running a little bit behind. I don't want to get into stories, but there is many inactive accounts that people just had checks on that had a small minimum balance for years and years and didn't really use it. And there was fraud committed on it, whether their checks got stolen or the fraudsters knew that the account was truly inactive. So if you have inactive accounts, try to limit that if possible, to manage your money, and make sure that you just don't have a bunch of inactive checking accounts with checks that could be susceptible to fraud. So 6 things you can do to help prevent identity theft. We're going to go into each one of these in depth, but this is really just a great rule of thumb for all of us to carry ourselves to help prevent identity theft. So avoid sharing information to unknown parties, log in safely, be vigilant. I would say that that's probably the number one out of all of these. Update your technology. There's always new firewalls with your computer or your phone that are being updated to kind of try to at least weed out some scams or fraud. Make your online sessions clean. Keep your inbox and trash can clean. So let's take a closer look when we're talking about each one of these. So avoid sharing information to unknown parties. Again, if somebody's calling you from Chase and they say, hey, we just wanted to verify your information, what's your social security number? It's absolutely fraudulent and a scam. We want to make sure that any type of fraudulent thing, if you don't know the number, you should be wary. You should be very skeptical. Never share your social security number, date of birth, driver's license, or other confidential information with anyone you don't know or trust. But specifically, be wary of requests for this information via text, online, or over the phone. Those are the top 3 to keep in mind when we're talking about, avoid sharing that information. Logging in safely. Create unique usernames, passwords for your online banking account. You know, I actually have this is kind of hits home for me. I don't, you know, you shouldn't have the same username and password for everything, because if it does get hacked, they can get into everything. So it's important to create unique usernames and passwords for online banking accounts. If you bank with multiple banks, or you bank, you know, if you have a mutual funds account or a 401k, try to make those unique, such as $signs, @signs. I've been surprised, and maybe Sarah could chime in on this. Most banks are not as vigilant, I would say, as KeyBank is for their password protection. As far as us requiring, you know, longer character passwords, most people it's like 8 with 1 character. Key, we require more longer characters for your passwords and special characters within that, and that's for your protection. So that's important. The more complicated you make it, the better for as far as your passwords. So you can it just makes you more safe. Number 3, be vigilant. Obviously, we talked about this. Enroll in online banking. Check your accounts frequently. Pay attention to your billing statements. That's something that we definitely want to be doing constantly. Update your technology. We talked about that. Firewalls these days with Microsoft and your computer, it's important to update your technology. They're constantly trying to weed out things as well. So I think that it is important to update your technology to the latest operating system, so you can weed out with those better firewalls from scams and pop-up blockers, things of that. So any malware that you might get also through your email. So that's just a really good rule of thumb as well. Make your sessions clean. Type site addresses directly into the browser window instead of using links or favorites. That is actually something that hackers can do now, is get into your web browser for your existing favorites that you might put up there, and it'll take you to a different spot. That's actually a common thing if you open up malware through an email, that it's a virus in your computer where they can get that information in your favorites bar. So if you think you're clicking on your bank login site, it's actually taking you to a fake site where they're getting your information, or they could monitor you while you're putting in that information. So make your sessions clean. It is a good rule of habit to actually type the address directly into the browser window. And with the technology nowadays, it automatically normally picks it up anyway. So it's not really like it's that difficult. Keep your inbox and trash can clean. Delete emails from suspicious sources immediately. Shred paperwork, sensitive information like credit cards, debit cards, etc. Obviously, if you don't have a shredder, they're pretty cheap at Staples. You can go get something to try to protect yourself when you're throwing out the trash, and you don't have somebody digging through your trash for your information, things like that. But I want to hand it off to Wendy on this one. You know, safekeeping of vital, important documents. You know, this is something that she even opened my eyes to. And there's things out there that I didn't even know existed. So Wendy, please let us know what we can do to protect our important documents at home.
Great, thank you so much, Micah. And I've been an organizer for a while, and one of the things I give to everyone is a list, and I think it might be an upcoming slide, or it might have been a handout that you were sent ahead of time, that gives you a list of documents and how long to retain those documents. And some of those are listed in red. In other words, they're vital documents, ones that are difficult to replace, and should somebody else get their hands on them, are very difficult for you to prove that, you know, your own identity. And some of those things include your military discharge papers, citizenship papers, birth certificates, social security cards, copyrights, patents. One of the things I forgot to put on the list, which is crucially important, and I'm going to talk about too, is like if you own your property, have a deed of trust for it and a title. Those are also vital documents, and they weren't on the list. So the vital documents, ideally, you would have them offsite in a safe deposit box in a bank where they're secure, where they're probably fireproof or as fireproof as anything gets, and so on. But a lot of people aren't banked, or their bank may not have, and a lot of credit unions are like this too, where some smaller banks and credit unions don't have safe deposit box for their members. So if you are keeping those in your home, you really need a fire resistant or waterproof safe or bag. And I want to say fire resistant because for all we know, there's absolutely nothing 100% fireproof, but things are, give you a lot more protection. So one of the things I do for all my clients, there's a picture of a fireproof bag there. I prefer in the home keeping documents in a fireproof bag rather than the safe. Well, why would I do that? Something that's mobile. And it's because it's mobile. If you are in Colorado, we've had a significant number of fires in the past few years, and that's only getting worse. And if you happen to have these items in your home, and one, you need to leave immediately to evacuate, you can hope that the documents in the safe aren't damaged from the fire. You wouldn't know one way or the other if that would happen. But you also need a lot of those documents for what to do after the fires burned your home down. Do you have the information that you need, like even knowing who your insurance agent is and what your insurance policy covers? If all of those things are in a fireproof bag, and that bag is someplace where every member of the household knows where it is and can grab it on the way out, it's lightweight, it's easy to carry, and it protects you in so many ways. Now, the one thing that's very important is not to put that bag in a place that a thief is likely to look should your house be broken into. So you may want to put it under a bed or some other, in a, maybe your coat closet, but behind something. It's just important that you know where it is and how to, just have a plan. Everybody, the other thing I didn't talk about was having an emergency plan, but that's a whole other thing. But these bags are very cheap. For $40 to $80, you can get something that meets the requirement. You want to have a fiberglass bag that's covered in silicone. You don't want uncovered fiberglass because that stuff easily splinters and gets into your skin, and that is painful and it's a health hazard. But the silicone also makes it waterproof. There are bags rated for all different things, but you want to get one with the highest rating of 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. That's higher than most fire resistant safes that you can buy that weigh hundreds of pounds. Just going on Amazon, you can get a great list. They should list the specifications there, and it's just worth your while if you don't have a safe deposit box, or if there's things that you keep in your home, to have those in that bag. And I want to say just a couple more things about certain documents that I also recommend that, you tell family members who don't live in the household about things like your will, like your power of attorney and all of that. You can tell somebody where to access that, but you should also give those people your lawyer's phone number, or in the case of Legal Shield, their phone number, as well as have a copy there. So let's say you are, God forbid, suddenly in a fatal car accident, and there are members of your family that need to take action based on that. It would be the best thing in the world for them not to go through the extraordinary thing of having to dig up that information at a crucial time. So anyway, those are some of the things. I should look and see if there's questions. Somebody said that my dad keeps important documents in the freezer. Do you know the freezer is one of the first places that thieves look these days? I would do something super random, you know, like even, you know, the back of a cupboard or underneath your DVDs in the living room, or just a very random place that just people in your house know about, not the freezer. You know, some of the things like these books that look like whatever and are really safes, but they're so small they are not useful. I would just yeah, somebody said I really have to tell them that. And somebody asked where to get the bags, just check Amazon, all of those things. Yeah.
Hey, Wendy.
Any questions about that? Oh, good. Here's information to store in the cloud. Thank you. A lot of this stuff you want to get access to no matter where you are. Again, evacuation thing. Let's think of Hurricane Katrina, where, you know, everything washed away. How do they prove what they have? You can go through your home with your cell phone now and do a, you know, talked through home inventory. If you don't want to write it out and say what everything is, you can have pictures, because some of that, if you have a loss, you have to be able to prove what you've lost. So you want to be able to do that. I think everyone should have their home inventory in the cloud, as well as a list of policies and agent numbers. You want to make sure your cloud is encrypted and secure. You want to use a password manager if you can, but all of those things that are listed there need to be in your cloud and not on your computer. Don't store them on a physical hard drive.
That is a lot of really good information, Wendy.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I know, like you said, there's been so many flooding in Colorado in the last couple of years, fires, and it's important to know that, you know, even if you don't live up in the mountains, I mean, drier fires happen. You know, there's all sorts of things. You want to make sure that you're protected with those important documents. And if it's something that's a cheap solution, you can go on Amazon and find a fire retardant bag, a go bag to put all those documents in. I even talked to my wife about that. I don't have a go bag that's, you know, fire retardant and ready to go, or if my house burned down. So thank you. That's even information that I'm taking to heart and really need to have. So really good information. Really.
There was one other thing that you didn't mention, and we mentioned when we were talking, is that people should also check their utility bills for fraud. It's very common from your cell phone company. People go and buy cell phones on your own account. It happens all the time, or they purchase a plan on your account. So you should review that and don't assume you've automatically had a price increase. Same with cable companies, with Excel, with all of that. And I'm just going to shut up because I know Mike is going to take it from here.
Absolutely. And I know that there was a link that if you want to share that, Wendy, in the chat to share that with the people of a free online tool. I'm sorry I don't have that readily available, but share that in the chat of something they can check for any sort of utility fraud, things of that. I know we had chatted about that earlier. So we do have about 2 minutes left. I want to wrap up what we're talking about, but ultimately, how do you deal with identity theft? Ultimately, if you have, let's say, identity theft and you bank somewhere, it's not a Key Bank, or it's just an FDIC insured bank, Chase, Wells Fargo, what have you. Those are definitely safeguarded. You know, up to $250,000 FDIC, you're insured for fraud. Now, FDIC, we're not going to get into how that works with every single, you know, per signer and all that. You can go to the website and check out what that is. But yes, you're covered when you go to a bank, and that's why a lot of people go to banks, is because you are protected for fraud. Basic procedure, and I know Sarah would agree, you know, if there's a debit card fraud, we're going to hot card that debit card and send you a new one. We can give you a temporary ATM card at Key Bank until you get that debit card. And so your money, you still have access to your funds. Our back office or any retail bank is going to do an investigation with our fraud department, and then they'll, if they find that fraud, you're going to get that money back. So it's safety in knowing that where you bank, that they have your back. Now, what's important is when you're dealing with identity theft is relationship. Where you bank and who your banker is so important. It's kind of like a lawyer. You don't know that you need a lawyer until you need a lawyer. It's kind of the same thing with banking. If you have fraud on your account, you want to make sure you have a good relationship with your banker so they can make that process as easily streamlined as possible to be on your side and make sure that it's being dealt with correctly. And what you can do to help yourself. Again, if you want to take a quick snapshot of this page, these are the 3 main credit bureaus that you can call: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. For your credit score. It's good to have their information on file in case you need to contact them if there was fraud committed on your credit score, to report that to those credit bureaus. So this is really good information. Again, I will send this deck out to Jasmine so you guys can look through and have all of this information through the PowerPoint. And obviously call your bank's fraud hotline if there was something that happened to address the fraud. Contact the creditors to freeze your account. I always recommend to have your credit freezed regardless. So anytime that you have a credit card application and you want to apply for it, you can unfreeze your credit score, apply for something, and then refreeze it. Because when you have your credit score frozen with each 3 of these bureaus, it's really going to protect you from fraud. So really important, good stuff on here. Again, sorry, I'm kind of rolling through. We're about a minute over. I'm going to wrap it up here with my information here at Key Bank, my phone number, my email. I want to thank all of our guest speakers for giving such invaluable information to help us protect ourselves from identity theft. It can happen to anybody. So again, equipping ourselves with knowledge is what we can do to combat that. So I wanted to thank Nancy and everybody on the call to be able to join us today. Jasmine, I really hope that everybody at Bayaud really appreciates this information and can find that as invaluable. Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I have to say, every time, or at least at the last financial well-being, it seemed like there was so much homework that I needed to kind of start doing. So thank you so much. I know that one thing that kind of stuck out was the social media. The TikTok can be a data mine, things like that. I personally don't use it, but I know there's a lot of us that do. So it just seems like it's always good to be reminded of the type of vigilance we really need to employ in the day-to-day life, and not to keep our stuff in the freezer. Also, interesting.
Little things we find out. Yes, absolutely. Really good. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you guys again so much. I'm sorry that we went a little bit over, but it's good stuff in there. So
no, this is good. This is Bayaud time. This is great. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys.
Mike,
We'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Linda.
Lucy.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
Mark.
everyone.
Nancy. Bye, Alicia. Thanks, Jasmine.
Bye, Mark. Bye.
Thanks, Wendy. Your info is crucial.
You're welcome. Anytime. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks you all.
All right. Bye, you guys.